Okay, validity. So defining validity, right? The information that I have in the Google Doc. So this is one of them. This has just your basic definitions. To me, this one was the easiest to follow and understand. Construct validity. Does the test measure the concept that it's intended to measure? So if I'm like, how often do you get pee in the toilet? And I ask the kid, how tall are you? Although actually that's relevant. Hold on. I want to know if they get pee in the toilet. And I ask the kid, I'm trying to think of something that wouldn't be related to that, but my brain can only, how many books do you own? Right? That's probably not going to be a very good indicator of how accurately they can pee into a toilet. So construct validity, that's what we're trying to figure out. How accurate is it? Now, here's another one of those things, diagrams, because that's how my brain works, is in diagrams. So this is also in that same definitions doc that I have available. Okay, so you'll see here, construct validity is here. And it goes, you can evaluate it through translation validity. And down here is criterion related validity. And it's got concurrent validity, discriminant validity, convergent validity, predictive validity, but all of this is a part of construct validity, right? And so what we're after is construct validity. Now, when we're looking at the mask 2, nope, hold on, before I do that, same piece of paper as before. This is what we're looking for, and this is our hints for how to find the things that we are looking for. It's almost identical to the reliability one, right? So you've got multiple constructs, subsets, different people filling things out. You've got to understand how the instrument is designed in order to be able to understand the reliability and the validity. All right. Different kinds of validity, which I just talked about. It is also reported often as the coefficients, right? So same kind of concept. You're looking for correlation. So you're looking for those same numbers, but it's not going to be internal consistency. It's not going to use that because that is for reliability, not for validity. So let's look at the mask 2, which is what we've been looking at. Let's look at validation or validity, excuse me. So we did technical. Y'all can't see this, I know. I'm doing it for myself. We did technical, we did reliability, we got to retest reliability, and now it says validation evidence for the mask 2. Okay, so mask 2, that is the second version of the mask, and that includes both the kid report and the parent report, okay, is strong. All right, that's good. The professor said we could just put that it's strong, and that was okay, but then she said it'd be better if you went and found an article that had the numbers for it. So let's keep reading, see if we get any numbers. Discriminant validity. Wait, what's discriminant validity? All right, so same printable thing that I had. So this has discriminant validity. Discriminant validity. The extent to which a concept differs from other concepts. Okay, so that means I'm trying to make it look only at this and not this other thing over here. Only this. Okay. Discriminant validity was established using the aforementioned clinical sample. Okay. Clinical sample, not the retest one. Aforementioned clinical. So let's go back and find the aforementioned clinical sample. I'm going to bet it was when they talked about norming it. So we're going to go back to before the technical section. Again, I'm just taking y'all along for the ride. Okay. The new normative sample included 1,800 children. So it's three paragraphs into development, the development section. All right. The new normative sample included 1,800 children, blah, blah, blah. Demographic characteristics. This is all important for the norming part, but that's not what we're talking about. Okay. Sampling process. Oh, here we go. In addition to the normative sample, data were collected from a clinical sample. Okay, this is the aforementioned clinical sample. Excellent. Okay, the aforementioned clinical sample, including more than 1,000 children with a diagnosed clinical disorder, including GAD, panic disorder, social phobia, MDD, social anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and ADHD. All right, so we've got a clinical sample of 1,000 kids that have diagnosis for multiple different kinds of disorders. All right, the data from these children were used to identify the utility of the MASC-2 for identifying differences between the clinical and normative samples. In other words, these guys have already been diagnosed. Does our measure actually confirm that? Does it line up with that? Different, because you can't test that with the normative sample, right? The normative sample hasn't been diagnosed. So you're trying to see, you're norming it on a population to make sure it does what you want on a normative population. But doing it on a clinical sample, you're trying to see if it can prove something that's already been proven. I'm going to use prove in quotes because prove's not really a social science thing. But that's the idea, right? I know that they have this, and I'm going to see if my measure can show that they have it. I'm going to see if it lines up. Okay, the aforementioned clinical sample. Where did we leave off? All right, so discriminant validity was established using the aforementioned clinical sample. I now know what they're talking about. Great. Effect size comparisons. All right, so like how big was the effect? For the clinical subsamples, disaggregated by type of diagnosis. Okay, because I read what they read before, I know that all the different types of diagnoses included GAD, panic disorder, social phobia, major depressive disorder, all of those things, right? So they compared the effect size for each of those types of diagnosis. Disaggregated means they separated out. They looked at each independently, and offered and repeatedly confirmed expectations, okay, for identifying differences from the general population as well as among the clinical samples. Okay, so it was able to accurately line up with the diagnoses of the clinical sample kids, and it was able to accurately differentiate that from the general population. That worked, so that's good. Discriminant validity was strong. If we want to know what the number was, we're going to have to go look that up somewhere else. I'll come back to that. All right, that's one paragraph. Score, it only took us 7 minutes. All right, convergent validity. What the heck is convergent validity? Why are there so many kinds of validity? I don't know. Okay, wait, before I define it though, that's my reliability page. I'm going to go back to this, construct validity. Convergent validity is down here, right next to discriminant validity, right? So they both feed into criterion-related validity, so the criteria, which is part of the construct, right? So it's all part of a bigger picture, but you're looking at the nuances of different types of validity because we have lots of things to evaluate when we're looking at a measure. All right. Convergent validity, the degree to which two attempts to measure the same concept, okay, through maximally different methods are convergent. All right. It is generally represented by the correlation between the two attempts. Correlation, right? Just like we were talking about with reliability, and I said was true for validity. We want to see how well they're correlated, so that when I am measuring, we're going to read it and then it'll make sense, but I want to know that they both line up and are correlated, and the higher correlation is, the more they are measuring the same thing. I feel like that was a little confusing. Let me talk about it from the MASC, and hopefully that will make more sense. Okay. Convergent validity. So the degree to which two attempts to measure the same concept through maximally different methods are convergent. How well do they align? How well do they correlate? All right. Is offered in the test manual based on a study examining consistency of responses for the MASC-2 with the Beck Anxiety Inventory for Youth. Okay, so what that says is they use the MASC-2 and the Beck Anxiety Inventory for Youth, and they evaluated that they're both meant to assess anxiety. Did they both do that? So in other words, this new measure, the MASC-2, does it line up with the Beck inventory, the Beck Anxiety Inventory for Youth? Because we want it to, because we're trying to measure the same thing. And so we want those to be highly correlated. So they lined it up with that one, and they lined it up with the Conners Comprehensive Behavior Rating Scales. Okay, so they compared it to two existing measures to see if it was similar, to see if they were correlated, to see if they could say, our measure is valid, it does what we think it does, because we can show that it's similar to these existing instruments that evaluate the same thing. Okay, moderate correlation coefficients. All right, moderate. Okay, so moderate, based on my little cheat sheet here, moderate is 0.5 to 0.75 according to my cheat sheet. So it's okay, but it's not great. It depends kind of, from my perspective, it depends on where it falls with the 0.5 or the 0.75, right? Because 0.5 or lower is not good. So we're moderate. We're noted for both external measures of anxiety through the self-report scales. Okay, so it lined up moderately with those. It was okay. Hold on. Give my brain a second to catch up. Again, if we wanted exact numbers, we would have to go and look that up from a different study that reports it. Okay. Similar evidence emerged in an examination of the parent form for the Connor scale and the MASC-2P. All right, so remember, we've got the kid version of the MASC, and we've got the parent version of the MASC. So the kid version of the MASC is what they're talking about first, comparing it with the self-report scales for the Beck anxiety and the Conners comprehensive. And the Connor scale also had a parent form, and so they compared it for that one too. Similar evidence means it also had moderate validity. All right, so that's our second thing of validity, right? We've got the validation, the discriminant validity that we talked about first. And now we've got the convergent validity that we talked about second. So again, discriminant validity, the extent to which a concept differs from other concepts. So can it measure this and not this thing over here, right? That was good. That was strong. Discriminant validity was strong. Convergent validity, how well does it correlate with other measures trying to measure the same thing? That one was moderate. That one wasn't as good, okay? But all still validity. This is why it's hard, because you're like, I just want a number for validity. Just give me a number. Any number will work. But it's just not that simple. Okay, so finally, inter-rater consistency. Oh crap, there's another one? Inter-rater consistency. Okay, so we pause. We figure out what inter-rater consistency is. Hold on. Let me find my right piece of paper. Nope. So this is inter-rater. Gosh, usually I think of inter-rater as inter-rater reliability and not inter-rater validity. Ooh, twist! Okay, so we were doing validity, inter-rater consistency. Oh, you know what the key word is? Consistency, right? Because we know reliability is internal consistency, is internal reliability. So if I see inter-rater consistency, ding, consistency is reliability, all right? So let me pause this here and come back to that. I'm going to come back to that one because that's a different topic. That is not validity, that's reliability. So we have two measures of validity that we can report on. We don't have numbers. We've got discriminant validity is strong and convergent validity was moderate. Okay, and I know what those mean based on the cheat sheet that I've got. If I want to look those numbers up, which is what she recommended doing, you're going to need to find an article that uses the measure. It's a little bit of a broad hunt, if I'm honest, because sometimes a scientific study will use a measure and they may just say it has strong validity, like it's a good measure, it's a good instrument to use. And sometimes they may report the numbers, but they don't always. And so it may take 2 or 3 or 4 articles until you can track down the number that you're looking for. I haven't actually attempted to do this yet, so I don't know how frustrating it is. But I think where I would start is, so at the end of the MMY, there's reviewers' references, and they give a number of references that they have used to make this evaluation. I would start there because they're most likely to have the numbers in it. So you could look on the Lamar library and see if you can find it there. And if you can't find it there, then if you can't find it from these specific references, I would just type in the name of the instrument in the Lamar library search. And I would just start clicking on documents. You're going to need peer-reviewed, like always, peer-reviewed, and you're going to need full text because you're going to need to be able to get to the methods section. Or maybe it's the data collection section. I'll double check on that. You're going to skim it. You're just going to skim past the first part. You're not going to worry about the last part that does limitations and strengths or implications. Don't care about any of that. You're not going to pay attention to the data analysis. Don't care about any of that. So skip skip, middle section should have something about, here's the things we use to collect the data, and we're going to tell you why we used them. So as a researcher, you have to state your case. Like, I chose the mask 2, and it doesn't suck. I chose the mask 2, and it's got good reliability, as shown in these numbers, and it's got good validity, as shown in these numbers, right? And if you get lucky, you'll find an article that has the actual numbers in it. So that's how I would track that down. Okay, let me stop here at 15 minutes and record one more thing for reliability, because it just won't end. Y'all are doing great. Hang in there. Hopefully this has been helpful. I know it is a lot. It's a lot, but you got it. Just go slow, bird by bird, little bit by little bit. Just go slow, and you'll get there.